Well, hello beautiful humans. For this video, we are going to discuss finding benchmark points on a number line and how this can help us to plot other numbers on the number line. The numbers we are going to use for the range for this number line are 0 and 100. Now you might be thinking, what are benchmarks? And that is a great question. Benchmarks are numbers that are relatively easy to find in a number line by finding the middle point, which would represent the center on the range. Benchmarks usually end in 0 or 5 to make it easier for our base 10 brains to think about. They can be whole numbers, or decimals, or fractions. For this video, we will only talk about whole numbers. Now, to start off, we know the smallest number on our number line is 0, and the biggest number is 100. Can you think for a minute what number is right in the middle between these two numbers? If you guessed 50, then you were correct. And if you got it correct, without pausing this video, take this opportunity to make a weird face at your teacher. Did you do it? You better have. With this number line, you can find even more benchmarks. You simply think about what would be in the middle between 0 and 50, and 50 and 100. Do you know what those numbers would be? If you guessed 25 and 75, then you are correct. Go ahead and make an even sillier face at your teacher. Now, you might be thinking, but what if the range isn't easy numbers like 0 and 100? Great question. What if your crazy teacher says your number line starts at 6 and ends at 52? How rude is that? If this is the case, all you have to do is use your amazing rounding skills to make the range easier numbers to think about. But when rounding for a number line, for your first number, you will always need to round down, and for your last number, in your range, you will always need to round up. What does that mean? Well, 6 would have to turn into a 5, and 52 would have to turn into 55. That way, you can always make sure to include the crazy numbers your teachers have chosen you to start and finish at. Then, you need to figure out what is in the middle between those two numbers. To do that, you need to find the difference between them. When you are finding the difference, we always use subtraction. For this case, we then do the problem 55 minus 5. Do you know what 55 minus 5 is? If you guess 50, well, you know what to do. Are we done there? No, we are not. 50 is not the benchmark in the middle. You then divide 50 by 2, which we know from our last problem is 25. Then you go to the first number of the range, which was 5, and you add it to 25. So 25 plus 5, which equals, if you got 30, well, again, you know what to do. This makes 30 for our benchmark. Now that we have our benchmark, how are we going to plot numbers on our number line? Well, we are going to go back to our original range of 0 and 100 for this one. We are given the following numbers to plot on this number line: 28, 56, 67, 5, 97, and 11. Have a think about where these numbers might go. When I do an activity like this, it always helps me to put the numbers in order, smallest to biggest. It helps my brain think about things a bit more clearly. Let's start off with our first number, 5. Well, I know that 5 fits into the range between 0 and 25. I have to think now, is it closer to 0 or 25? And I think that you know that it is closer to 0, but I also have to think, what is right in the middle between 0 and 25? Because 25 is an odd number, this is a bit tricky to think about, but I know that right in the middle between 0 and 24 would be 12. So I think that the middle would be pretty close to 12. I know that 5 is close to 12, but closer to 0 than it is to 12. It is almost in the middle between those two numbers. To find where a number goes, it really helps me to think about what the middle number is between the benchmark numbers provided. I keep using this skill to find the most appropriate place for the numbers. This helps me to put 5 here. It will not be exact because I am not a computer-generated program. Is this where you thought it would go too? Next, I have 11. I found out a minute ago that 12 was about the middle between 0 and 25, and 11 is really close to 12. Where do you think it goes? I put it here. Did we put it in the same place? Next, we have 28. I know that 28 is bigger than 25, but less than 50, so it has to go in this area here. It's really close to one of our benchmarks, so this one for me is quite clear. Where do you think it will go? Think about which number it is closer to, 25 or 50. Go ahead and touch the screen now and see if we put it in the same place. I put it here. Was yours close to mine? Let's do the same for 56. We know that 56 is bigger than our benchmark of 50, but smaller than 75, so it has to go in this area here. We know that it is pretty close to our benchmark of 50 though. Where do you think it goes? I put it here. Were we close? Where do you think 67 would go? I know that it is bigger than 56, but smaller than our benchmark of 75. In between 50 and 75, there would be the middle would be 62. I know this because in between 0 and 25 was about 12. So I added 12 to 50, which gives me 62. So 67 has to be closer to 75, but past the middle. I'm going to use my using the halfway mark to help me with this number on my number line. Where do you think it goes? I put it here. Were we close? Last one. 97 is really close to the end of our range. Where do you think it goes? I placed it here. Were we about the same? If you're getting pretty close with all your guesses, then fantastic. Please give yourself a pat on the back, or just give your teacher another silly face. If you were sort of way off with all of your guesses, still give your teacher a silly face, but go and talk to them and tell them that you need a little bit of extra help with this learning. Reminder, finding half of the range and other benchmarks can help us plot numbers on a number line. Thank you so much for watching.